So addiction or just restriction. And I'm linking these are links to a variety of studies. So once you guys get the PowerPoint, you can actually, click on these studies and read them in full if you would like to, but I'll give you just a synopsis of what they were all about. They're all around exploring the idea of food restriction. Like, are people really addicted to food? When someone says they have a sugar addiction, is that the same thing as having an addiction to gambling or sex or whatever, drugs? So the CAR study was rats were starved for 12 hours. And then they were shown to be binging on sugar, where the rats that weren't starved didn't binge on sugar. So that study kind of showed that if you restrict a living thing, once you give it something, it's going to gobble it all up. So if you restrict sugars, if you have no sugar and then all of a sudden someone puts a cake in front of you, of course you're going to want to devour that because you've been restricting that thing. The Keeler study showed restriction of chocolate for 3 weeks led to an increase both before and after the restriction. So before the restriction even happened, they got that last supper mentality. So the participants in that study ate more chocolate before the restriction started because they knew they had to get their fill of it. And then after the restriction, they binged on the chocolate again, whereas the people in the control study didn't eat as much of the chocolate. In the taper study, being told, it was with children, being told not to eat the red M&Ms, but that they were told they could eat all the yellow ones they wanted, they ate mostly the red ones because they were told not to. And y'all know, I mean, I'm hoping everybody here has had an M&M. They're no different. The candy coating looks different, same inside, tastes exactly the same, but because the kids were told they couldn't have the red ones, that's exactly what they wanted, right? And then the Galloway study, they found that the more a parent restricts child's eating, the more they want the forbidden food and feel disconnected to their body. This showed an increased risk of emotional eating for those children and a higher BMI, especially in the females. So again, those are links, so you can check out those studies at your leisure. But that all to say, most of the time when we feel an addiction to a certain food or a certain food group, it's really just coming from a place of restriction, whether that restriction is physical and you're physically not allowing yourself to have it, or mental restriction where we have food rules around that food. I shouldn't eat that. That's going to make me unhealthy or lead to XYZ disease, that type of stuff. So the more you restrict, the more you binge. The more you binge, the more you want to restrict. So I know some of you in here either have been diagnosed or have self-diagnosed yourself with binge eating disorder. And this is something that I struggled with for a very long time. Binging after restriction is biological. Your body's trying to keep you alive. And then the restriction that comes after the binge, that's just, it's very alluring because you want to even the scales, right? Like I binged X amount, so I need to restrict X amount in order to make up for it. Because we hear all the time, calories in, calories out, but we know that, well, hopefully, if you don't know, I'm going to tell you now, it's not that simple. It's not that simple because you don't know how much you're burning in a day. Some days it's more, some days it's less. The quality of those calories, the fact that much more goes into weight than just calories. So, but the urge to restrict is very alluring because we want to fix what we've done in the binge. And if we keep going binge restrict, that's why they call it a cycle. It's going to keep going.